St. Louis in Missouri, das Tor zum Westen. Die Cardinals und ihre Fans hoffen hier auf den Erfolg, wenn die World Series erstmals nach 17 Jahren hierher zurückkehrt. Am Sonntag in Spiel 2 gab es Teil 2 des medizinischen Wunders mit Curt Schilling in der Hauptrolle. Die Red Sox haben das Kommando in dieser World Series übernommen. 2 Siege, noch 2 und sie haben die Krone, die Bad Boys aus Boston. Heute steht der dreifache Cy Young Award Gewinner Pedro Martinez im Rampenlicht. Er pitcht zum ersten Mal in einer World Series. Es ist das wichtigste Spiel für die Cardinals in ihrer wunderbaren Saison. Sie müssen gewinnen.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So tonight, we're right back in the home of the Cardinals for Game 3 of the 2004 World Series. The Red Sox with a 2-0 lead in the series. The game is next. And the retired numbers here at St. Louis, number 45, Bob Gibson. It's Gibby and Stan the Man, Stan Musial, number 6. And just moments ago, those two on the diamond really lit this place up. Stan getting out there toward the pitcher's mound, and he's going to be received by the great Bob Gibson, who the Red Sox and their faithful know very well. Two great Hall of Famers, and the fans just went crazy for those two.
And you know, there's not better fans anywhere in the world in all of sports, and there's fathers and grandfathers talking to their sons and grandsons right now about Stan the Man Musial and Bob Gibson and how great they were.
Neither one of them are available tonight, although the Cardinals could use them. They are down 2-0 to the Boston Red Sox. Of course, Gibson in 1967 not only pitched the Cardinals, but hit the Cardinals to a World Series win over Boston. He hit a home run in game number 7, a game that he won on short rest. And here come the St. Louis Cardinals. Their fans are ready. Just a sea of red here at Busch Stadium. Very similar to Fenway Park in Boston. And time for a look at the starting lineup of the Red Sox, brought to you by MasterCard. Johnny Damon is in center field, followed by Orlando Cabrera. And then the left fielder, Manny Ramirez.
Well, he just continues to get at least one hit in every postseason game. He's a guy who's lucky to be playing. We saw him defensively have some problems. He landed hard on that knee, but he is healthy, and his bat is always productive.
David Ortiz is not the DH. There is no DH in the National League site. He dug a brand new, hardly used first baseman's mitt out of his locker yesterday. Veritek is the catcher, followed by Bill Miller coming off a 3-error game. Trot Nixon in right, Mark Bellhorn in second, and Pedro Martinez will try and make contact. He does not hit very well or very often. They're all up against the right-hander Jeff Suppan.
16-9, a career high in victories, but 10 of those wins came on the road for Jeff Suppan. He has been their most consistent pitcher, though, here in the postseason. You see the 2 victories. He's not a strikeout type guy. He needs to control the base on ball.
The weather more conducive to playing good defense, and now it's time to meet the St. Louis Cardinals, who will support the right-hander Suppan defensively in Game 3.
My name is Mike Matheny. I'm a catcher. I was born in the United States.
My name is Albert Pujols, first baseman, Dominican Republic.
Tony Womack, second baseman, United States.
Scott Rowland, third base, USA.
I'm Edgar Renteria, shortstop. I'm from Colombia.
Reggie Sanders, left field, United States of America.
Jim Edmonds, center field, United States of America.
Larry Walker, right field, Canada.
And Rick, even though it has been wet and raining most of the day, at the moment it is dry. The conditions 56 degrees. That's considerably warmer than Boston the other night. The wind is blowing from left to right.
No question that the players will take these conditions as opposed to the cold weather that we had in Boston. The bats, particularly with runners in scoring position, were cold as well for the St. Louis Cardinals. They just seemed to be flat. They weren't hustling defensively like we've seen them in the past. This crowd will take care of that problem.
Oh, it really is like an extra player on the field for the Cardinals when they get roaring. And there are 53,000 of them, many more than in Fenway Park, about 22,000 more here at Busch Stadium. Suppan is ready, and the first pitch is strike 1, and we're underway in Game 3. So much of the Red Sox attack begins with Johnny Damon, not just because he's the leadoff hitter, but he is the table setter. And there's such a different club when Johnny Damon is on base. He's quickly behind, though. Nothing in 2.
People look at Johnny Damon completely different after Game 7 against the New York Yankees, though. Just think, if they would not have gotten to that point, it would have been a completely different outlook for him.
Suppan misses, although he leaned in there as if to say to the home plate umpire Brian Gorman, where did it miss? He thought he had strike 3, and that would have been on 3 pitches. Now it's 2-2. A very patient Damon here.
I think the Boston Red Sox are really content to have Johnny Damon in center field next year. But if it wouldn't have gotten to a Game 7, don't you think they might have made a phone call to Carlos Beltran?
The 2-2 rocketed to right field, but there's Walker to make the catch. Well struck by Damon, but he lines out. 1 gone, and now look at the keys for the Red Sox here for Game 3.
It has been the key throughout the whole postseason for the Boston Red Sox. When they score first, they are 8-0. When the opponents have scored first against Terry Francona, his team is only 1-3. So very important for Jeff Suppan to shut them down here in the top of the first.
He'll tangle next with Orlando Cabrera, the shortstop from Cartagena, Colombia, at 300 for the postseason. So swinging a very good bat. He's an extremely aggressive hitter. He has batted 9 times against Suppan, and he has 3 hits. Ball 1 to Cabrera. Manny Ramirez next, as the site has shifted to St. Louis, the National League city. The next 3 games, including tonight, will be played here at Busch Stadium. If necessary, Game 6 and 7 back at Fenway Park in Boston. Sharply but foul down the left field line. That moves the count to 1 ball, 1 strike on Cabrera. One down and the base is empty for the Red Sox, and the 1-1 pitch, a breaking ball. Did not swing the bat, according to Chuck Merriweather, and the count's 2-1.
That would have been something rare. A swing and a miss by a Boston Red Sox. Good little off-speed pitch down just off the outside corner. Matheny trying to get the call.
Contact made but fouled back. And to your point, Rick, in games 1 and 2, the Red Sox faced 364 pitches. They've swung and missed just 19 times. That includes foul balls.
You know, that's remarkable there. And also the fact they've only fouled off 61 pitches. So for the most part, Boston is centering everything thrown by the St. Louis Cardinals pitcher.
Got a piece of it to hang in there. Cabrera so far in the series is 2 out of 8 with 3 runs batted in. Now as we look at Suppan, what is his out pitch? He's trying to strike out Cabrera here. What does he go with?
He really doesn't have one. I'll be honest with you. Not really anything above average other than the heart and determination. Tremendous composure, an outstanding game plan going into each start.
Line shot into left center, but there's Edmonds on the move, reaches and hauls it in for the out. 2 down.
We talked about the key, not letting the Boston Red Sox score in the top of the first inning, and it doesn't matter how Jeff Suppan accomplished that. I don't care if they hit 3 line drives, they hit 3 balls to the warning track, if they load the bases. If he can put a 0 up, finally, the offense of the St. Louis Cardinals can relax.
Edmonds always stylish out there, even running one down in the gap like that. He has made a slew of just amazing plays in his career. And here's Manny Ramirez, 4 out of 9 in the series. As you look at his total postseason numbers, he's hitting almost 350. And he likes facing Suppan. And Manny Ramirez is due to hit one out of the ballpark. And tonight might be the night for him. He is a .368 hitter in his career against Suppan with 3 homers.
The St. Louis Cardinals have good pitchers, but the problem is the Boston Red Sox have great hitters. On the other hand, the Boston Red Sox also have some great pitchers. We thought that would be the difference against the New York Yankees. It took a while to get that going. But all of a sudden, Schilling took off. Pedro Martinez pitched well. And now you've got a 2-0 lead. You've got Pedro on the mound. And the possibility, if needed in Game 6, you could come back with Schilling. A lot of momentum for the Red Sox.
Suppan looking to breeze through the first inning. He has 2 men out. And a 1-1 to Manny Ramirez. Inside too much, 2-1.
The one thing I've seen with Suppan this year, I think it really helped him, is he's throwing that cut fastball, which normally right-handed pitchers throw away to right-handed hitters. But he starts it just off the inside corner and will bring it back to the plate, getting that called third strike. If he does have an out pitch, that's probably it.
2-1. A strike. Manny thought it was low. Arguing that a bit with Brian Gorman. Was it under the knees?
I would say so, but I would say you're going to see this called a lot tonight. This will be one of the bigger zones in this series with home plate umpire Brian Gorman, but it will be consistent.
Fly ball, deep drive to left field, and it's gone right now. Out of here. Home run, Manny Ramirez. He was due, and he got one. And it is 1-0. And once again, the Cardinals cannot keep the Red Sox from getting on the board early.
You know who told me about that cut fastball on the inside corner to right-handed hitters? The hitting coach, Ron Jackson, of the Boston Red Sox. It was almost as if that's what Manny Ramirez was looking for. That's what he got, and the Boston Red Sox get the lead that they want. Cut fastball, supposed to be down and in, coming back, catching the inside corner. It was up. He was looking up, looking in. 1-0 Boston.
No doubter. Sanders in left barely had to move. And why should you? It's a souvenir. A lot of Red Sox fans here in St. Louis. And you could tell by the sound when they rose as one after Manny's ball went into the left field stands. One more look. This one coming right at home plate.
tried to get that ball to move. You can see he just simply overthrew it. Maybe got a little bit too emotionally high with the crowd. And now all of a sudden, if you're Albert Pujols or you're Larry Walker, you're thinking, here we go again. You know, when there's that pressure on you where you have to score to keep up, it changes things.
Is a little doubt starting to seep in now for the St. Louis Cardinals. They're a very confident team right now. That one tattooed for a base hit by Ortiz, and he is safely on with a single. And you know, remember how the inning started. Damon hit a rocket that was caught by Walker. Cabrera hit a sharp line drive hauled in nicely by Jim Edmonds. So Suppan is pretty easy for the Red Sox to figure out right now in the first inning.
Well, they were able to figure out Woody Williams in game 1 and also Matt Morris in game 2. Collectively, the starting pitchers coming into play tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals have recorded 20 outs. That's 28 outs that the bullpen had to go hit. And we're talking about a team that doesn't even need to hit the Boston Red Sox in the bottom of the 9th.
Ramirez with a home run. That came with 2 outs. That's how the Red Sox are doing it. They did it throughout game 1 and game 2, scoring with 2 down. They're at it again. Here's Jason Varitek. And Suppan knows that the man that he is facing right here knows him better than any other Red Sox hitter because he caught him last year. Varitek caught Suppan in a handful of outings. And Varitek is 6 out of 14 against Suppan. That's a .429 career average. And look at these numbers now. These are updated, including what they've done here in the first inning tonight.
Easy to see why Terry Francona would have Varitek hitting 5th. Just put the best guys you got right there together.
Slice foul out of play.
Varitek was telling me in the lobby of the hotel this afternoon, too, that catching Matt Morris all the way back when they were in college in the Cape Cod League helped him in that at-bat when he hit that triple.
Boy, they were like 18, 19-year-old kids back then. Now battling it out in the World Series with Ortiz at first and 2 out. The Red Sox have struck first again. Into the dirt. Nice block by Matheny. On deck, Bill Miller. Pujols and David Ortiz chatting away there at first base.
I think the infielders for Jeff Suppan trying to figure out if they're going to be needed tonight or not.
Ground ball toward the middle of play for Womack. He'll flip it to Renteria for the force. But the Red Sox have now scored 7 first-inning runs in the first 3 games of the series, and a little bit of support for Pedro Martinez. He goes to the hill, the slender right-hander for the Red Sox. The Red Sox jump out to a 1-0 lead on a Manny Ramirez home run. Now look at the starting lineup of the St. Louis Cardinals about to face Pedro Martinez. Brought to you by MasterCard. Edgar Renteria is the leadoff hitter. Larry Walker in right field. And then you get to Albert Pujols starting to cook. He had 3 hits in game 2.
He really did, too. And he's a guy that all he needs is some people to get on base in front of him. I think it hurts the lineup not having Tony Womack healthy up at the top and Renteria down more so in an RBI situation. But nonetheless, Pujols, it doesn't matter who gets on base, he'll take it.
Roland hitless in the series so far. Jim Edmonds not much better, just 1 bunt. Reggie Sanders, Tony Womack, Mike Matheny, and Jeff Suppan. They will all take on the right-hander Pedro Martinez, who turned 33 years old on Monday. And here's Renteria. First pitch outside, ball 1.
I think they need to counter with the home run, that being the St. Louis Cardinals offense here in the first inning. Pedro Martinez in 33 starts this year allowed 8 first inning home runs.
Another night with threats of rain, and it's going to continue all night long. We might have an occasional stoppage in play. That's a possibility. We're hopeful we will not have to have that. Low-lying clouds, and it's almost ghost-like. I guess if the Red Sox are indeed going to reverse the curse and send the ghost of the Bambino out to pasture, they take a 3-0 lead tonight. These are appropriate conditions, but the Cardinals have other ideas. That's off the end of the bat. Bellhorn scoops and gets him. One man out. The Red Sox on defense now have Ortiz in there at first base.
Jason Varitek, catcher, United States of America.
David Ortiz, first base, Dominican Republic.
Mark Bellhorn, second base, United States.
Bill Miller, third base, United States of America.
Orlando Cabrera, shortstop, Colombia.
Manny Ramirez, left field, and I'm from Dominican Republic.
Johnny Damon, center field, USA.
And Trot Nixon is in right field tonight for the Boston Red Sox. Larry Walker is also the right fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Red Sox ahead 1-0. Walker checks his swing. A lot of flash bulbs still popping here around Busch Stadium. This being the first at bat of this World Series for the Cardinals. Everyone wants a picture. Outside on Walker.
Larry Walker aggressive on that first pitch, trying to hit it out. Now he's being patient. He knows the key to beating Pedro Martinez is to get him out of the ball game. Get that pitch count up to 100 or beyond. Pedro Martinez becomes human.
Walker 3 out of 11 in his career with a home run against Pedro. They were teammates in the early 90s on the Montreal Expos team, including that great team in '94. That one drifted outside, and it's 3-1.
I think it's not only a statistic to get him to 100 pitches. I think it's become a mental block for Pedro. You know, as a pitcher, when you're getting close to that mark, Jeter hit a triple on the 100th pitch of that ball game, and on the 106th pitch, that's when John Olerud hit the 2-run homer to beat Pedro in that start.
Well, one of your keys was make the Cardinals earn their bases. And Larry Walker just did as he took ball 4.
And here's that opportunity that Albert Pujols looks for. He loves having the pitcher throw out of the stretch. Nobody is near as effective out of the stretch as they are the windup, and it even hurts the stuff of Pedro Martinez.
St. Louis really has to answer just about immediately against Boston. The Red Sox are rolling offensively. Fastball in there for a strike. Pedro at 92 miles an hour on that heater. So his fastball is in pretty good shape. We saw that in Game 7 against the Yankees in the American League Championship.
Pujols, one of the few power hitters, Jose, that's not afraid to fall behind in the count. A lot of confidence that he can put it in play, and with more authority the more pitches he sees.
No pitch. Pujols asked for time, and it was granted by Brian Gorman. And the home plate umpire does not have to grant the hitter's wish there. He can allow that pitch to come through if he feels the batter is playing games with the pitcher.
But when you're in St. Louis and Albert Pujols asks for it, he receives it.
He'll get it. He'll get everything he wants. A great hitter coming off a spectacular year. Lets that one go, and it's in for a strike. And it's quickly 0-2.
Let's quickly go over the scouting report for Brian Gorman. 13 years at the big league level. He will call the big curveball, as I mentioned earlier, and as we've seen already, he's got a big zone. I think that's a big advantage for Pedro Martinez tonight.
Pujols, one of the best two-strike hitters alive. 1-2. One down, Walker on. And that man next, Scott Rowland, still looking for his first World Series hit.
Pujols did the same thing with that double off of Roger Clemens. Fell behind with 2 strikes, but stayed with that same approach. He just waited for the Rocket to make a mistake, and he drove in that tying run.
Walker back in, but on his feet, he did not slide or dive. Ortiz taking that throw from Pedro Martinez. In perfect position. He did everything right.
Yeah, and Veritek has done everything right too. You see him standing up there giving that high target. He did that in the Anaheim series, standing up and then going down and away with something off speed.
Ground ball down to smother it. Now rolls behind Miller, and everyone's going to be safe. And Pujols is on with a hit. Walker into second with one man out for St. Louis. Bill Miller made 3 errors in game 2 on a very cold and hostile night. This will be ruled a base hit appropriately.
It's going to go as a base hit, but you know what, Dave? It honestly was a play he could have made. He dives, he's able to knock the ball down, but he did not get the glove on the baseball. It's a high chopper. There he is. He's gotten to it, but you can see what happened. It looked like his footing may have given out a little bit. Knocks it down to keep Pujols from getting an extra base hit, but if he comes up with that, Pujols not fleet of foot, he could have had the out.
Yeah, Pujols has been playing on a bad heel. He's had plantar fasciitis all season long. It's very painful. He does not run well. Here's Scott Rowland now. First and second, 1 out. Outside for ball 1. Rowland in the series 0 for 8. And the Cardinals, time and time again in games 1 and 2, did not get the hit in these spots.
Runners in scoring position. That means it's second base or third base. Look at the numbers. You know that they have the ability to turn that around.
The Red Sox and Pedro Martinez thinking double play and get out of the inning. And Rowland will hit into a twin killing. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You ask about Suppan and what his out pitch was, not really having one. Pedro Martinez has 3 of them. There was a straight changeup. We've not seen the big tight curveball yet.
Rowland stranded 8 runners in the first games in Boston. Set up outside, but it's too far away. 2-1.
Larry Walker getting into the mind of Pedro Martinez. At first base, caused Albert Pujols to step off because Pedro took so long looking at him. Larry Walker now getting a lot of attention from the Boston starting pitcher.
And Walker's a great base runner. One of the top 2 or 3 in the game. A little bit high. 3-1. So far that strike zone of Brian Gorman's is not helping Pedro Martinez at all. He's missed with 10 pitches. He's thrown 7 strikes.
There's that energy that they were looking for in Boston and couldn't find.
Ball 4 and the bases are loaded. Pedro's walked 2 in the first inning. And Jim Edmonds is coming up.
Two for 10. A 200 career average for Jim Edmonds against Pedro Martinez, but one of those 2 hits went out of the ballpark. That's what this ball club and crowd wants.
St. Louis is 4 and 5 hitters. Rowland and Edmonds 1 for 16, 1 run batted in the series. Boy, could Edmonds clean up that number with 1 swing of the bat big time.
Matt Morris in the first inning of game 2 walked a couple of guys. Veritek hit the triple. That was the lead. That was the ball game. Pedro Martinez making the same mistake here tonight with a couple of walks.
Only 1 out. Boston ahead 1-0. The base is loaded for St. Louis. Way high for ball 1.
Tried to throw that fastball on the inside corner. You can see him overthrowing a little bit like what Jeff Suppan did on the pitch to Manny Ramirez.
Fouled away by Edmonds. Reggie Sanders up next.
That's the pitch right there that Pedro Martinez came up with when he was injured in the postseason against the Cleveland Indians. He couldn't throw hard. He didn't have a lot of great velocity. It's a cut fastball that just slightly runs in on the left-handed hitter. It's a lot like the one that Mariano Rivera throws. The same kind of velocity. Pedro Martinez just doesn't use it as much.
Walker, Pujols, and Rolen on the bases now. Manny Ramirez cranking a home run in the first inning for the Red Sox. But the Cardinals on the verge of getting that back and then some.
Well, they're finally moving David Ortiz back. I was trying to figure out why he was playing in with just one out.
Swing and a miss. Pedro blew that one right by him at 93 miles an hour.
That's the good one. He had Edmonds thinking about the cut fastball again, the one that would come in on him. Watch this one. This one takes off and goes away. It never comes down. That swing well below and behind the fastball.
Down into the dirt and blocked by Varitek. Edmonds, remember, the bases all loaded up here, is very prone to striking out. 150 of them during the regular season.
Pedro could have got that good curveball a little bit closer to his own. He might have gotten the strikeout he needs here. Pedro Martinez has been one of the best pitchers of all time. Amazing career number, but this is the World Series.
And for the first time for him, he's never pitched in a World Series game until tonight. Edmonds will step out. Now the 2-2. High fly ball into left, but very shallow. Manny Ramirez coming in. He makes the catch, tagging up Walker. The throw home, the tag at the plate. He is out at home. That's a double play. It ends the inning. Manny Ramirez gunning down Larry Walker.
I can't believe that they sent him. This was a ball that the shortstop almost could have caught. Manny Ramirez does not have a great arm, but I do not think that was a great play on the part of Jose Oquendo or Larry Walker. One hop right to Varitek. You're not going to get past him. He's proven that.
That's an all-star first inning for Manny Ramirez. A homer, and now he throws on Walker. Hugs for Manny. He deserves plenty. 1-0 Boston. Out, and they fail to come up with a single run, Rick.
Not hitting with runners in scoring position again continues to haunt him.
Here's Bill Miller leading off the second. The Red Sox ahead 1-0.
There's Manny Ramirez with the throw. A great job on the part of Bill Miller keeping Albert Pujols at second base there. If you didn't think you had a play at home plate, he would have cut it off and tried to get an out to end the inning.
Nailed into center, but Edmonds is there, and yet another wicked line drive out by the Boston Red Sox. They're hitting everything hard off Suppan.
Let's go back to that play right here. Take a look at Miller there. Watch how close he comes to getting that ball, going up as the throw is going up there. He's telling him right there, Manny Ramirez, to go to second base. He didn't think he had a play at home, but Manny Ramirez knew he did. Miller jumps up as if to cut the ball off, keeping Pujols there. But see how close he came to the ball? But look at that. Manny knew that he had a shot there. Bill Miller might just not have been able to get to that ball. Walker with a terrific effort, but you're trying to move a building back there with Varitek.
Trot Nixon hitting out of the 7 slot for Terry Francona. The Boston Red Sox ahead 1-0. Mark Bellhorn will follow. That one popped up, and one of the few weak swings so far tonight by the Red Sox. Nixon not having much of a series. He's 1 out of 8. And Suppan puts him away quickly. 2 down.
Makes you wonder if Trot Nixon physically is still at 100%. He came on and played well in September. They did not think that they were going to get him back, but he's swinging like a guy that, once again, either that lower back or those quadriceps aren't firing like they're supposed to.
9 for 45 in the postseason.
And no authority. I mean, he's just not hitting anything hard as everybody else has for Boston tonight.
You see Martinez to hit next after Bellhorn if the inning is still alive, but obviously Suppan wants a 1-2-3, and then he'll get the pitcher coming up in the third inning, and a very weak hitting pitcher at that, as the series has shifted to the National League City, and that means the designated hitter is tossed out, and Pedro gets to try out one of those bats that he probably hasn't swung more than a handful of times all year. Interleague games, that's about it.
That bat has seen about as much playing time as David Ortiz's glove.
That's right. It looks like it doesn't have a dent in it, not a nick. It's in pristine condition. Nobody on base and 2 down. Over the shoe tops of Bellhorn, and it's 2-2.
You're so right, though, Dave. This is the guy you got to get. It creates a much easier inning in the top of the third than what it would be if Bellhorn were to able to get on. Then you get Martinez for the last out. You got to have that out.
Slicer, that'll make the seats down the line, and yet it's with 2 outs. We had a shot there of Dave Duncan, the pitching coach. He knows it 0-2 well. With 2 out, that's when the Red Sox have been starting their rallies.
I don't know that you can blame the starting pitchers, though, for the St. Louis Cardinals. They don't really have the ability to strike people out. They're more of a type of club that throws strikes and uses the defense.
Down into the dirt for ball 3. It is a team without an ace. They don't have a 20-game winner. They don't have a Pedro Martinez or a Kurt Schilling. They won more games than anybody in baseball this year, 105 of them. But they don't have a pitcher that scares the Red Sox. I mean, there's nobody in this rotation, including the Game 4 starter coming up next, Jason Marquis, that the Red Sox don't believe they can handle.
Well, the only other team to win that many games, 105 in a season without a 17-game winner, you got to go back to 1975 and the Cincinnati Reds. They won 108 games that year.
3-2, and he went for strike 3, according to the home plate ump Brian Gorman. He swung the bat. The inning is done. 1-2-3. It's on to the home half of the second inning now here in St. Louis. Look at the dimensions of the National League Park.
Most people think that it's a small ballpark because of the way Albert Pujols and before him Mark McGwire made this look, but I think it's a pitcher's ballpark. It's very fair. It's easy to play defensively in the outfield because it's so equal. It's just a great old ballpark. It's a shame that it's not going to be around in a couple of years.
That's right. They've got a new ballpark being built as we speak here in St. Louis, which will be the new home of the Cardinals. Reggie Sanders stepping in. He'll be followed by Tony Womack and then Mike Matheny. And Reggie trying to get going in the series. He is 0 for 6 so far. Pedro getting out of that first inning with a bases loaded, 1-out jam. And where defense has been such an issue for not only Manny Ramirez but a number of the Red Sox with 8 errors in the first 2 games, wouldn't you know it, that's how they bail out Pedro.
And you know that the game plan going in offensively and on the bases was for the Cardinals to challenge Manny Ramirez in the outfield. They're going to run on Johnny Damon when they can, but Manny just pulled one out of the hat right there with a perfect one-hop throw.
And he'll do that every once in a while. He butchered a couple the other night at Fenway Park, but then he'll make a dazzling play. A high pop-up into left. Cabrera out. Manny comes in, looking up into the haze, but he's got it. 1 man out. A look at the umpire crew tonight. 6 of them with Brian Gorman behind the plate.
A lot of experience there. Ed Montague, the crew chief, out in left field. Dale Scott, he's down the right field line. Those are supposed to be nights off for these umpires, but they have not been with all of the controversial home runs.
Tony Womack really scuffling right now with a bruised collarbone, although it's improved. And also back spasms. Also has an ailing knee. This is a guy recently recovered just 13 months ago from Tommy John surgery. What doesn't hurt on Tony Womack right now?
He's in there.
Trying to hold up. High pitch. That's a strike. Charlie Relaford on the appeal, and the count 1-1.
I think it really hurts the attack for Tony La Russa not having Womack in that leadoff spot. His speed, the way that he's able to create a run, cause havoc on the base path. Plus, you lose the RBI situation for Edgar Renteria, one of the best clutch hitters on this Cardinal team.
Well, one of the reasons, aside from his injury problems, that Womack is hitting down in the order is he is just 1 for 13 off Pedro Martinez. But you're right, Edgar Renteria did not bat leadoff once all year for St. Louis. Womack did. He puts it in play, but Bellhorn will throw him out. They're 2 gone. And how does that change the attack for this St. Louis team? Renteria batted 2nd or 6th. Womack started 125 games this year. Every game he started was as Tony La Russa's leadoff hitter.
And I think that's why, if I were Tony La Russa, I might have gone in a little different direction. I might have had Anderson, or I might have had Cedeno, or somebody else in that top spot so that everybody else would be in their comfort zone. But he has chosen not to do that.
Mike Matheny hitting with the bases clean here in the 2nd inning. 1-0 Boston. So far it's been the Manny Ramirez show in Game 3 of the World Series. Matheny 1 for 6 so far in the first couple of games. And when laid right in there by Pedro, and it's 0-2.
Look out. He just found the missing piece to the puzzle in the first inning. He couldn't get that curveball over. He just did.
The 0-2 up high with that one. Is this a good night to pitch? We have had rain. Now it feels muggy. Temperatures in the 50s. And it's the World Series. I mean, you want to be on the hill. Sure. I realize that.
But it's a good night to throw that curveball that you could not throw in the cold conditions back at Fenway.
Fouled back. Good swing by Matheny. The Cardinals have been just terrific here at home all season long. Particularly here in the playoffs. They're 6-0 in postseason games at Busch Stadium. So at home they are truly in their comfort zone.
And they should be getting more comfortable with Pedro Martinez here tonight. He is not sharp once again.
Swing and a miss.
You know, you're getting yourself out swinging at that pitch.
Struck him out. First K in the book for Pedro tonight. So Pedro Martinez with a 1-0 lead, picking up his first K, and that's a quick 1-2-3 second. It's on to the 3rd. The Red Sox up 1. All corners of the globe at TV questions at website.mlb.com as the World Series progresses. Got a great one here from Adrian Holland, South Yorkshire in the UK, saying, hey, Dave and Rick, why don't you guys wear tuxedos when you're commenting on a World Series? Like Johnny and David do in the UK. Sut, you handle that one. I think what we could say is because we're not on camera, well, we are wearing tuxedos.
They make a lot more money than we do.
That's true. They're absolutely loaded. Pedro Martinez in the batter's box, not much to write home about. Hitting in National League parks and interleague games over the years. 0 for 19 with 1 walk. And everyone's getting the grins over in the Red Sox dugout watching this. He looks at a strike.
I think the biggest concern for Terry Francona in this at bat is that Pedro might hurt himself. You got a 1-0 lead right now. You've got the boys behind him coming that can swing the bat. I wouldn't be surprised if he just went up there and took the whole at bat.
In there for strike 3. Caught looking. 1 out. Well, he's not going to get hurt that way. That was a quick one. And the bat certainly didn't get damaged. It's still in great shape.
It's still in one piece. That's what they're amazed about. Look at Manny. Look at him. Look at Manny. Look at him.
And he said, hey, great at bat, Pedro. Johnny Damon now. Johnny is 0 for 1. He is lined out to right field. And we talked about the cautionary note before tonight's game that so many of the Red Sox hit Suppan quite effectively. Not Damon this time. He's 0 for 2 this evening. Now, is it overstating it to say that because a number of these Red Sox played behind Suppan in his 10 starts that he made as a Boston Red Sox pitcher last year, that they have a big advantage?
I think there's somewhat of an advantage in this day and age. So, Dave, with all of the video footage that you have, you were talking about Manny Ramirez. So every time we've been in a clubhouse, he's been in front of a computer. He's been looking at his swing, looking at the opposing pitchers. I mean, you're just lazy if you don't have a file on every pitcher that you're going to face, because that information now is available more so than ever.
Did you find when guys played behind you and later they played for another team and came back to hit you that they saw you better, that they were more effective in the box against you?
They were more effective because they were more comfortable. You know, you have that friendship. I mean, whether, you know, you're real close or you're just, you know, acquaintances. And there's a comfort zone for those hitters that you're not going to knock them down. They're a lot more comfortable going to that outside corner and trying to do something against you. You got to set the record straight right off the bat by moving somebody.
Pulled sharply foul down the line by Cabrera. He's already lined out to center, hitting the ball very hard.
Off-speed pitch on the outer half of the plate. You see the changeup there. Watch how aggressive Cabrera. Look at him going out over the plate to get that. I mean, these guys didn't even play together, but that comfort zone has been there for all of Boston.
The breaking ball cradled by Matheny. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Right now we're catching a big time break with the weather, and the umpiring crew did an excellent job on the Major League Baseball to decide to start this game on time. And it has stopped raining completely. The 2-2 pitch is outside.
We got a little heads up from crew chief Ed Montague as they went out and surveyed the situation. As they came off, Eddie Montague looked up into the booth. We asked him, we put our thumbs up, thumbs down. He double thumbed up us. I mean, we got a Rogers and Ebert, you know, with the 2 thumbs up. We're going to play. He was right.
3-2 into the dirt for ball 4. So does it start again with 2 down as Suppan walks Cabrera? And next up will be the dangerous Manny Ramirez. It is a quick draining field here in Busch Stadium, but the grounds crew did magnificent work to get it ready
as
on
old
time.
As this stadium is, this is a new ground surface that they have. This ballpark was AstroTurf for many years.
Thank goodness that ugly stuff is history. Manny with a home run in the first inning, and that has made him 5 for 10 in the series with 3 RBIs. And the pitch is down low for a ball. Another look at that first inning swing.
Well, you called it. You said the only thing missing offensively for him was a home run, and no sooner than you said it did Manny Ramirez provide it. That is the 1-0 lead that Boston enjoys right now.
He's creeping up that list. Career leaders with homers in the postseason, right behind Bernie Williams, even with Reggie Jackson and Mickey Mantle. That is serious home run company.
Well, there's postseason homers, and then there's World Series homers, where Mickey Mantle hit many.
Reggie Jackson in one game hit 3 home runs on 3 swings
from 3 different pitchers.
How about that? I don't think we'll ever see that again. 1-2 on Ramirez. Ortiz to bat if the inning is still going. He is on deck.
Yeah, some hitters go into a slump after they hit a home run. They pull a ball. They go up there again wanting to pull a baseball. You got to get a pitch to do that with. Manny Ramirez way out in front of that last changeup. He's going to have to make an adjustment here. He strikes out looking. Pedro Martinez is going to have something to say to him.
He just might, as Cabrera scoots back into first base. 2 down here. And the Red Sox take a lot of pride in this scruffy look, don't they? Manny says it only takes me about 10 seconds to get my hair ready for a game.
What does he do to it?
Just twists it up, throws it under the helmet, and he's good to go. Flies that one to right field, but Walker is there. And Larry Walker clinches it for out number 3. No runs, no hits, 1 man left. We are midway through the third inning. Pedro Martinez heading back to the hill. He has a 1-0 lead. Jeff Suppan has not had much of a year offensively. Just 4 out of 57. Although he does tend to put the ball in play. The pitcher to be followed by the top of the order, Edgar Renteria.
He drove in a run off of Roger Clemens in the NLCS.
He's actually not a bad hitter.
He didn't really drive it in, though. He kind of just bunted it in. Tony La Russa with the suicide squeeze. Pedro Martinez is all over the place again tonight. No reason to fall behind Jeff Suppan.
Fouls it back 2-2.
He walked a couple of guys in the first inning. He has now, in the postseason, in 22 innings, he has walked 13 people. That's not Pedro Martinez. 2 and 4 in the month of September, the most losses he had ever had in 1 month.
Did you have, when you were facing an opposing pitcher, a number of pitches in mind? And maybe it's 3, maybe it's the automatic 3 strikes, but that, hey, I don't want to go beyond that number of pitches. I got to get rid of him that quickly.
I had that with every hitter. It's 4 or out.
Dribble toward third, tough play. Miller throws, not in time. He never put away Suppan.
Well, he fell behind him. He just kept throwing balls. A 6-pitch at bat. Finally ending up with an infield hit. There's a hanging curveball. Not hit hard, but look at him. He puts his head down. And even though he's not running very fast, he's running as hard as anybody going down that first base line tonight. Miller was playing deep, not able to get to it. You got the leadoff man on. An opportunity to manufacture possibly a run.
Far too late. So Suppan on with the infield single. Here's Renteria. He's a very good bunter. 0 for 1 tonight. Not bunting on this one. Although Miller thinks he might. He's drawn in on the grass at third.
I agree with not bunting here because Pedro Martinez is struggling. The curveball still isn't there consistently. He's not throwing that hard. He will give you a good pitch to hit seemingly in every at bat tonight.
Renteria 2 out of 8 in the series. You make a mistake on him, he can knock it out of the ballpark as well. Safe is Suppan, who has to be very careful not to get picked off. He does not run the bases all that often.
Well, they're clogged up right now, those bases. I mean, the only way you're going to hit a ball that Suppan will score on is to hit it out of the ballpark. I know, I used to clog them up too.
Big swing, but a foul tip there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Larry Walker, part of the new age number 2 hitters in baseball these days. Number 2 hitters who can hit 45 home runs.
The game just keeps changing. You remember when Cal Ripken started playing shortstop? Everybody said he's too big. Now everybody wants a big shortstop. They want big offensive numbers out of what once was a defensive position.
Fly to right. Nixon back on the track. It's over his head. He slips and falls. It bounces back to the grass. Suppan is into third. He stops there. It's a double for Renteria.
I told you there was no place you could hit the baseball and score Jeff Suppan. You got an outfielder falling down. You got an infielder falling down. You got a ball once again. He missed his location, Pedro Martinez. The ball was absolutely smoked. Down goes Nixon. Suppan rounding the bases. Even there, Jose Oquendo puts up the stop sign. The ball gets by Bellhorn. Cabrera wisely backing up the play, but all kinds of problems for Pedro Martinez tonight.
Splish splash for Nixon. There's a lot of standing water out on that track area. He actually dug it out of the puddle. Larry Walker now. Ground ball pulled to the right side. Suppan is hung up. The throw to first gets Walker. Suppan is going to be out at third base in a base running blunder of gigantic proportions. And La Russa can't even watch. What was he doing?
I got to be honest with you, I wasn't even watching him. You just knew that he was going to score. What I was watching was David Ortiz, just to see how he handled the play at the bag and what his defense would be like. But you just can't believe right now what has gone on for the St. Louis Cardinals as far as their base running is concerned.
He started down the line, then he stopped. And Ortiz, who hardly ever plays first anymore, made a good enough throw to nail him by plenty.
He made a great throw here. Right there, all of a sudden, Jeff Suppan just put on the brakes. I don't know if he thought Bellhorn was coming home. I don't know if Oquendo maybe said something to Renteria or said something that Suppan confused with stay here.
So the Cardinals have been doubled up twice in the game. Look at Oquendo screaming, go, go, go. Suppan changed his mind.
But for a guy that is not on base a lot, occasionally a go sounds like a no.
Yeah, great point.
We won't know. We won't know until we talk to Oquendo after the game.
That's right.
Exactly what happened there. But that very well could have been a go-no thing.
I will say this, though. When you lose a runner at home plate, you lose a guy at third base as part of two double plays. That smacks of bad base running. And you go back to game 2. Reggie Sanders missed second base and had to go back. He went back to retouch, and then later he was doubled up on a hit and run that went bad on a line drive to third. The Cardinals are losing lots of base runners that they never lost during the regular season. They're making outs on the bases, and some of them are dumb plays. And that's not like the St. Louis team.
It's a lot like what the Boston Red Sox did early in the New York Yankees series. Manny Ramirez got thrown out at third base with 2 outs. No excuse for that. He tried to push the issue a little bit. He paid for it. Oh, that was a great opportunity. That should have been a run in, a man on third. You've got Pujols up with a man on third and only 1 out. That's guaranteed at least 1 run. You take the lead there. Terrific at bat lost there on the part of Larry Walker. I mean, he pulled the ground ball. You get the run in. You advance the runner. Productive outs.
Yeah, it's an RBI at bat. It's supposed to be. But Suppan is out. And as part of a double play, no less. So Renteria is at second with 2 away. The crowd here in St. Louis is stunned. They've had the life sucked out of them for the moment. Pujols can put some of that back. He singled in the first inning. Your point about Pedro Martinez not being sharp could not be more correct. He's everywhere. He's also getting hit. They loaded the bases against him with 1 out in the first inning, did not score. 2 men on with nobody out in this inning and have not scored yet. This is going to be his 53rd pitch. And it's tapped gently to Miller. A routine play. Side retired. And the Cardinals are hearing it from their fans. In the World Series, the Busch Stadium faithful are booing their Cardinals. And rightfully so. The Red Sox,
like Jeff Suppan, who's not out there very often. Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, telling Jose Oquendo something that makes Oquendo mad. I got to feel like Suppan told Duncan that that's exactly what happened there. And Oquendo saying something along the lines of, you know, you're out of your mind. I told him to go.
Ortiz wraps that one foul. He had a single in the first inning and another look at the play that turned into a big-time double play and took the Cardinals out of the inning.
Well, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I don't care if you're a pitcher, you're a professional athlete. That's something that even in Little League, high school baseball is automatic. When the infield is back, the ball's hit on the ground, you move up to the next base.
Oquendo's steaming over there.
Well, I think because Suppan blamed him. And I'm guessing right now. We'll find out the rest of the story later on. But he is mad about something. And to me, it's the fact that he was being blamed for something that he shouldn't even have to have coached.
David Ortiz playing at first base tonight for the Red Sox. We played in only 34 games during the season. Pujols with a nice stop. But Ortiz also made a fine play on Miller's rather low throw across the diamond here. And again, this is a guy who's hardly ever over there.
Exactly. You get a little sinking throw from Miller. See the ball go down. He too goes down on one knee. Now, if anybody else is playing first base, believe me, we're not showing that replay, but that was a good play for the big guy.
But if you couple that play with his fine throw across the diamond to double up Suppan,
that was a great throw.
He had a really fine defensive inning.
And not being afraid to let that throw go. When's the last time David Ortiz threw a baseball that far?
Here's Varitek with the bases clean and 1 out. Boston ahead 1-0. They are fortunate to be that in the lead here in game 3, because the Cardinals, who've been doubled up twice, ought to have 2 or 3 runs. 1 man out and a pitch in there for a called strike. But Rick, right now the St. Louis Cardinals, the winningest team in the majors this season, they are dazed, they are confused, they are frustrated, and they're down 2-0.
And I think it starts with their starting rotation. They got into the bullpen early. They had to use game 4 starter in game 2 just to get out of that. And it's almost like each pitcher that Tony La Russa puts out there is just like the other. Nobody's really overpowering. They're all about control guys. But if these guys throw strikes, if they don't give away first base, they don't walk people, they don't hit people, they have a chance to win.
Varitek made it out in the first inning, hitting into a fielder's choice, so he is now 6 for 15 lifetime against Suppan. And Bill Miller is up next. So we'll see if the Red Sox can capitalize on having the Cardinals off balance again. Swing and a miss. Suppan strikes out Varitek, and they're 2 away.
He's been much more aggressive, Jeff Suppan, here in the top of the 4th than any other inning thus far tonight.
He has not allowed a hit since the first inning. And he's also struck out 3 men in the game. So with 2 down, here's Bill Miller.
We talk about the great lineup of the Boston Red Sox. It's a great hitting team in Boston. Collectively, it's a .260 team average anywhere else other than the friendly Fenway.
Down low for a ball on Bill Miller. I think the Cardinals came in here tonight obviously delighted to be home. They had the best home record in the National League. They love it here. But also still their heads spinning because the Red Sox gave them so many chances in games 1 and 2. Ripped toward left center. That's going to fall down for a hit. Sanders giving chase. Miller wants 2. The throw will trickle in, and he's got a double. Bill Miller hustles in for 2 bases with 2 down. And Trot Nixon will try and pick him up next. But of course, in the first 2 games, the Red Sox made 8 errors.
That's got to feel good for the local kid. Went to high school right here in St. Louis. A star. You know, he's got a lot of family and friends here. They too know what happened defensively to Bill Miller in game 2. He struggled. 3 errors. Never been done before by a third baseman. This is the Bill Miller they're used to watching.
Full tilt and a double. Red Sox trying to double their lead here. They can do it with 1 swing. Swing and a drive, right field. That's over the head of Larry Walker and up against the bottom of the fence. The run is in. Miller scores. It's another 2-out RBI for Boston. Now ahead 2-0. It's been a very quiet series, very quiet postseason for Trot Nixon, but he just got a little loud.
We've not seen that kind of swing out of him very often. He got a hanging curveball. He got another 2-out RBI for these Boston Red Sox. And intelligent base running right here on the part of Bellhorn. Excuse me, on the part of Trot Nixon. Instead of getting to second base there, possibly getting thrown out by Larry Walker, if you get to second, they would take the bat out of Bellhorn's hand. They would intentionally walk him to get to the pitcher. He holds up an opportunity now for Bellhorn maybe to drive in Trot Nixon.
You and I have seen it time and time again, not only covering the Red Sox during the regular season quite a bit, but during that amazing American League Championship Series against the Yankees, now into the World Series. They feed off each other more than any other team offensively. And that's why you see so many of these 2-out RBI hits. Would not be surprising anyone to see Bellhorn knock one over the fence right here and just keep it rolling. Not that Cardinal fans are amused to see that, but that's how Boston's played all year.
I love how they laugh too at their problems. When Manny Ramirez greeted Pedro Martinez as he struck out looking, they laugh about it. David Ortiz, when he we're talking about our defense, when he said David Ortiz first base, it was almost like he was laughing at it himself.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of enthusiasm.
No.
David Ortiz, first base. Yeah, you got to.
You know what? I'm going to do the best I can.
Yeah.
And that's what each and every one of them has done so far this year.
That hit him.
That hurt.
Yeah, he dropped the bat quickly. That stings. Bellhorn drilled by Suppan. That'll put Red Sox at first and second. And Bellhorn is going to try and show Suppan and everybody else that it does not hurt. But you know it does.
Oh. That looked like that was on the left hand. He was on the disabled list earlier this year with a fractured hand, that being Bellhorn. Lost some time, but still came back to put up huge offensive numbers.
Never gave Suppan the pleasure of knowing that this might be aching. Off the hand, you're right. So it's fouled back by Pedro Martinez. Runners at first and second, 2 down.
It was a left thumb fracture on the part of Bellhorn that put him on the DL. He wasn't there very long, though. Come back and drive in 82 runs. They love that guy. Every person in that clubhouse.
Swing and a miss by Pedro, and he is on his way back to the dugout maybe after one more pitch, as he was quickly in the first inning.
And I'm telling all of our listeners across the world right now, if you need to go to the restroom or get something cold to drink or whatever, you can go ahead and go. You're not going to miss anything here. Just kind of get a head start on that line.
But the Red Sox have added another run on back-to-back doubles with 2 down here. In there for strike 3. No, you didn't miss a thing. Due up for St. Louis, it'll be Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds, and Reggie Sanders, all to swing against Pedro Martinez. The Cardinals down 2 on a double play earlier, and this is moments ago in the dugout. Now he's talking with Tony La Russa. Are they still concentrating on that play?
Well, he's embarrassed right now because when the crowd started to boo the team as they went to take the field defensively, he took that personally. That's his job. And I'll never forget Ozzie Guillen telling me that he thought the third base coaching position was more important once the game started than the manager.
So La Russa and Oquendo and Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, who's maybe out there to protect his pitcher and his point of view on the play. Remember, it was Suppan, a starter, who was nailed in a rundown. Fascinating stuff as Scott Rowland takes a strike, leading off the 4th with Boston in front 2-0.
I think you have to fuel off that, though. I think right now the Cardinals need to learn from what the Boston Red Sox have done. Take a negative and turn it into a positive. Put a run up on the board right now. You got one of the best parts of the order to do that with. Somebody make something happen.
Pedro Martinez has not been pristine, but he is going to get Rowland, who is now 0 for 9 in the World Series, and he was supposed to be a breakout star here in his best of 7. We return to the Sea of Red that is Busch Stadium tomorrow as we bring you Game 4 of the 2004 World Series. Our coverage beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern, midnight GMT, live from St. Louis. Coverage of the World Series, all part of October. 8 teams, 1 champion, right here on Major League Baseball International. So Rowland and Edmonds, under the famous arch in St. Louis, continue to be cold with the bats. They're a collective 1 for 18, and that one hit was Edmonds' bunt. That single in game number 1. That's it.
Pedro calling in David Ortiz here. They're going to talk about defensively where Pedro wants him. Pedro knows how he wants to pitch to Jim Edmonds. He was able to get him to pop up into that double play in his first at bat in the first inning. I think what he's saying right now is you play as deep as you possibly can. If he bunts or he hits something soft down the line, I will get the baseball.
Instead, he lifts a very high fly in the left center, but very playable, and Damon will take command of it for the second out. This is the Red Sox 4th World Series appearance in the last 50 years. And although they lost the previous 3, in every case, they lost to the team that posted the National League's best single season record during the decade in question. 1967, it was against the St. Louis Cardinals. They won 101. 1975, the Cincinnati Reds. In 1986, the New York Mets, who won 108 games that year. And the trend continuing here in 2004. These Cardinals with the best record in baseball, 105-57.
Yeah, but they did it with their 3 MVP candidates driving in runs. Pujols, Rolen, and Edmonds now in the first 3 games have 1 RBI. And this is kind of what Boston, to me, Dave, did against the New York Yankees. When after Pedro Martinez drilled A-Rod, he knocked Sheffield and Matsui down, they completely shut down that heart of the New York Yankee order. They had 2 RBIs the last 4 games.
That's really where that series, and we talk about the history of it, the compelling nature of the rivalry, the incredible comeback, but that's where that whole series spun right on its ear.
No question about it. And if you remember, the rain out before Game 4 created an opportunity for Pedro to pitch in Game 5 on normal rest. Without that, Terry Francona did not know who he was going to start.
The danger for the Cardinals now is they have let a less than great Pedro hang around long enough tonight. In fact, they haven't touched him at all except for 3 hits, have not scored against him. And now they may have allowed him to get into a groove and become the Pedro of old here in Game 3.
They should have at least 3 runs right now.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. 1, 2, 3, they go. And Pedro might be in that groove after all. He does have a 2-0 lead. One of those runs on a blast by his good friend Manny Ramirez in the first inning. The Red Sox lead it 2-0. World Series game number 3. The Boston Red Sox have a 2-0 lead in the best of 7 and a 2-0 lead on the scoreboard behind a Pedro Martinez who appears to be pulling it together pretty quickly. And the Cardinals have been shut out so far. Johnny Damon leading off for Boston. He's 0 for 2. Cabrera next, and then Manny Ramirez against Jeff Suppan, a 29-year-old from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And so when you start looking at recent vintage World Series teams and the clubs that have gone on to win, they just seem to have in the pitching staff the ability to get that key pitch across the plate to strike a guy out, to blow a hitter away. You don't see that with the St. Louis team.
You really don't. You do see it with the New York Yankees, and you think about the one common denominator for the last 3 World Series champs. It's guys that could strike people out. It's Brad Penny's. It's the Josh Beckett's. And I go back to the Anaheim Angels, and it was their bullpen. When K-Rod came in, he struck everybody out. You have Percival at the end of it. You go to the World Series before that, you got Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson for Arizona. Getting that strikeout when you have to have it.
They talked about it being the one area of this Cardinal team. Socked down the right field line for the corner, but a foul ball by Damon.
It was the first swing of that at bat for Johnny Damon. Take a look at tonight. Look at the swings and look at the lack of total of misses. We saw the bottom of the 4th inning end with a St. Louis Cardinal, Reggie Sanders, swinging and missing, strike 3.
Red Sox continue to make amazing contact, and again pulled to right field. Walker back over his head. That thumps against the fence, and Damon races to second with a double. A leadoff 2-base hit for Boston.
Suppan just not able to get anything past Johnny Damon in that at bat. Let's take a look at the sequence. Trying to get him to chase off the outside corner, missing with the curveball. I thought he got the call. He had to be perfect. You see there, he falls behind 3-1 now. Now what happened? Now it becomes batting practice because you know what's coming. You're the leadoff guy. The big boys are coming up next. By design, he does not want to walk you. You can just sit there and look for a fastball, get it, and hit it.
You just don't have the put away pitch. And that's up and down their rotation. Here's Cabrera. He's lined out and walked tonight. 5 hits now for Boston. Rake foul out of play to the right.
You know, Dave, in fairness to him, too, That's a big loss.
Yeah, Chris Carpenter.
He's their horse. I mean, he is a legitimate #1 guy. He's a power guy, a strikeout guy. Not able to pitch the rest of the year after a serious bicep injury. His injury is a lot like the one that Brad Penny had happened to him. Brad Penny now, of course, pitching for the Dodgers.
Carpenter during the season went 15-5. He made 28 starts, but unable to go because of that bicep strain. That was in mid-September, and later tests revealed a nerve irritation in his upper arm, and they had to shut him down. Big loss for La Russa. He's thinking about other losses right now, like another loss in the World Series. His team trailing 2-0.
And it's not Jeff Supan's fault that they're behind right now. They should have the lead. Sure, giving up the 2 runs was one thing, but he should be out there with a 3, maybe even 4 or 5-2 lead.
A ball, a strike, and a liner to right. That'll drop down for a hit. Damon will have to move up only to third. He can't score on that. First and third, nobody out. Manny coming up.
How quick things can change for a guy named Orlando Cabrera. A couple of months ago, he's in Montreal, struggling to get anything done offensively, not having any fun, constantly playing on the road, whether it be in Puerto Rico or somewhere else. Now he is a rising star. He's a free agent. He is soon to be a rich man.
You know, the Red Sox have scored 8 consecutive runs in this series with 2 down. Well, there's nobody out here, so they're trying a different script. Manny Ramirez with a homer and a fly to right field. Manny has now hit in all 13 Red Sox postseason games. A blast in the first inning and a high fly foul for a count of 0-1 here in the 5th inning. Meanwhile, activity in the bullpen. Reyes, the right-hander, starts to loosen up for La Russa. I don't think Tony likes some of these Red Sox swings. Even the ones that have gone for outs throughout the game have really been tagged. A humid night in St. Louis. Over to first base, and he gets back in safely. Cabrera.
I think Manny might have been late on that first pitch because in the back of his mind is the changeup and the last at bat that Supan completely fooled him on. Supan eventually was able to retire him on a fly ball to right field. Manny Ramirez will remember that. He will look for that changeup up and out over the plate.
Pitch number 81 is sliced foul. 0-2. You talked about Albert Pujols being the kind of hitter when he's down 2 strikes in a hole like this, he doesn't panic.
Yeah, he doesn't change his approach.
Does Manny?
No, absolutely not. Manny does not. Manny changes his approach because of the situation at hand. With a man at third base, a man at first base, and nobody else, he doesn't want to ground into the double play. He wants to at least get Johnny Damon in, and at least, worst case scenario, leave somebody out there on base for the next guy.
Well, the Cardinals conceding a run here. Fly ball of any depth.
And again, they need a strikeout.
Yep.
Can they get it?
Oh, just missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We really haven't heard any complaining from Tony La Russa.
Sitting off the plate. See how far that right leg was into the left-handed side of the batter's box. Good pitch. Good call. Count's still 1-2. You got an opportunity to get that strikeout.
Ground ball, base hit instead. That chases in Damon. 3-0 Boston. 3 consecutive hits. The Red Sox finally score in a situation where they were not 2 out. That might be the upset of the night.
He finally got the pitch he was looking for. Here's the sequence here. There's a fastball. He was late. He's thinking changeup the hole at bat. Out in front of that pitch. Take a look at it again. Now he's looking for that changeup. There it is. That was the exact same pitch that he took a swing at, and he missed it in his last at bat. He was not going to miss it. He was not going to be fooled by it this time. He gets Damon in, and he has another opportunity for his good buddy David Ortiz.
We talked about it at the beginning of tonight's broadcast that a number of Red Sox who used to be teammates of Supan's like facing him. Johnny Damon, for example, he's doubled in the inning. Manny Ramirez is 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. He has hit him extremely well in his career. And here comes another guy, David Ortiz, 1 for 2 tonight, which makes him 9 for 25 off of Supan. Good numbers here. Still nobody out.
Can you say MVP? 420 in the postseason. Already the MVP of the championship series. Take a look at the numbers and the difference. Look at there. When he plays first base, 34 games this year, 273. In 115 games as a designated hitter. You see when he's got a routine and he can plan for each at bat, much more production.
Swings and flies that one to center field. Fairly deep it carries. Edmonds will make the catch. Cabrera will fool with it but head on back to second. Nice throw by Edmonds as he gunned it over to Roland in great shape. Cabrera wasn't thinking about it, but it was a terrific chuck from center.
And as always, a nice job of preparing to make that throw. Watch Jim Edmonds circle this fly ball. Watch what happens. He gets behind it so that now he can come towards it in the direction that he wants to make the throw. Not being caught back on his heels. Cabrera thought about trying to get to third, but when he saw Edmonds perfectly defense that ball, get in position to make that throw, he couldn't get there.
1 man out. The batter will be Jason Varitek, hitless so far tonight.
Nothing Dale Swain, the third base coach, could do there. That is a judgment call on the part of Cabrera. You know, we're finding out not only is this kid talented, can he play defense, can he hit, but he also knows the game of baseball.
He really is a rising star. This is a terrific stage for him. Orlando Cabrera, who, like Edgar Renteria, hails from Colombia. 2 of the great shortstops in the major leagues. The pitch is down low for a ball on Varitek.
Tony La Russa would love to get Jeff Supan through the top of the 5th here. 1 more hit, 1 more base runner, and I doubt that that will happen. But if he could get him through the top of the 5th, then he could pinch hit for him when he comes up third in the bottom of the 5th.
Hit real hard, but Pujols with a fine play out of second. Back to first, not in time, dug out. Cabrera over to third. So no double play. Manny Ramirez in the second. And Varitek beating the wrap there. Manny has been called out.
Well, Jeff Supan needed to beat Varitek to the bag. He's got to get to the bag right now instead of Albert Pujols having to get there. Supan didn't get there in time, so Pujols had to come up with the throw. If Supan gets there, look what happened right now. There it is. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go. I mean, he tries to get over there. He just did not break immediately in time to do that. Renteria could have doubled him up on that play, but Supan just simply couldn't get there in time.
So they're on the corners with 2 away for Bill Miller. He doubled his last time up, a St. Louis kid. Born and raised right here. Fouls that one away. He's about 11 years old the last time the Cardinals were in a World Series here in St. Louis. He sat in the nosebleed section here. And he has some good memories about St. Louis. He has some bad memories. The good memories were the childhood memories, but he also, in this ballpark, tore up his knee very seriously on a sliding play and almost saw his career come to an end. Hits it hard, and that's a base hit. With 2 down, it almost hit Varitek. Cabrera is in. Boston ahead 4-0. That was a bullet.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. Again, a bullet hit by Bill Miller. Trot Nixon, the guy coming up now, he too hit the ball hard in his last at bat. Varitek got to stop for a minute, let it get through. He thought about going to third, but no way are they going to get thrown out at third base again, being that the 3rd out.
That's 4 hits in this inning for the Red Sox. And that's going to do it for this pitcher, Jeff Supan. Here comes Tony La Russa. 4 runs, 8 hits. And Supan, the winningest pitcher during the regular season for the Cardinals, is out of the game.
You hate doing it because you burn a reliever. All he's going to do is come on and hopefully get one out. You will have to pinch hit for him, particularly when you're already down by 4 runs.
That's the 3rd straight game a Cardinals starter cannot get through 5 innings. In the Cardinals throughout the series also hurt the New York Yankees to a large degree, giving up 2-out runs to the Boston Red Sox. And Suppan finished after 4 2/3 with 2 outs in the series. The Boston Red Sox are 6 for 15. And in the American League Championship Series, scoring 20 of 41 with 2 out against the Yankees.
And a lot of times with 2 strikes as well.
Sure. So he gives way to Al Reyes, the right-hander, coming on with a couple of men on base and 2 down, and facing Trot Nixon. Nixon, first ball swinging, flies out into left center field. It'll be caught by Sanders to retire the side, 2 left, but 2 runs in on a total of 4 hits. And the Boston Red Sox once again knock a Cardinal starter out pretty early. And Boston has built up a 4-0 lead in Game 3. Well, we're at the midway point heading to the home half of the 5th inning, and Boston has a 4-0 lead over St. Louis as the Red Sox, who already have a commanding 2-0 lead in the series, are on the verge of going up 3 games to none.
And on this pace right now, underneath 100 pitches, Pedro Martinez could get through 7 innings, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Facing Tony Womack, Mike Matheny, and then the pitcher spot is due up. Pedro really seemed to establish
that changeup.
And a groove a couple of innings ago. Got it going with that 1-2-3 inning in the 2nd. Did the same thing in the 4th inning. Off speed there and in for a strike.
You got to remember too, though, he's only recorded 12 outs thus far tonight. 4 of them have been given to him by poor base running on the part of the Cardinals.
You know, that's an area where the Cardinals were superior to the Red Sox coming in. Base running intelligence, speed on the bases, they had edges there. The Red Sox, everybody knew, could fall apart defensively, and they made 8 errors in the first 2 games, although that didn't hurt them. And the Cardinals, usually reliable base running, has really hurt them. It's been an Achilles heel. Last couple of games, St. Louis has shot themselves in the foot. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
We got the pitchers hitting in the National League Park during these 3 games, if they're all 3 played here, but it has now turned into an American League game for Tony La Russa. He will have to go to the bench every time that pitcher spot comes up.
Cut on and miss, strike 3. That's it for Tony Womack. 1 out.
Dave, you talked about the base running mistakes. Let's go back and take a look. Reggie Sanders, the hit and run was on. Womack with what would have been a double, but Sanders misses second base. He's got to go back. What happens? Reggie Sanders still at second, gets doubled up and tagged out at third. Here it is tonight. Bases loaded, 1 out. Larry Walker thrown out by Manny Ramirez. And look at this, fly ball was hit on the ground.
Little pop up here by Mike Matheny, an easy play for Cabrera, 2 down.
Well, there's just so many of them, it's hard to get in before they make another out.
That is sad but true for the Cardinals.
Here it is, 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. Larry Walker, RBI. No, wait a minute. Suppan did not go. Ortiz with a great throw. Bill Miller with a tag. Instead of 1 run in, a man at 3rd and only 1 out. There's a man at 2nd, 2 outs, and nobody in.
Here's Marlon Anderson hitting for the pitcher Reyes. 7 in a row retired by Pedro. This has been called for Pedro Martinez, by some anyway, the most important start of his big-time future Hall of Fame career. He's 33 years old as of Monday. He's a free agent when the season ends. Is he pitching for a contract someplace else or even with Boston? Well, if he is, he's in fine shape. That's a 10-pitch inning. 1, 2, 3. He disposes of the bottom third of the Cardinal order. We move on to the 6th inning already. Last time the Sox were in the World Series, I was deployed in the same place, listening to a transistor radio when the ball went through Bill Buckner's legs.
Oh. I would imagine there's a completely different look on his face as we speak.
Kiko Calero on the hill now as we go to the 6th inning. Mark Bellhorn has struck out and been hit by a pitch. He rakes a foul off to the right. Pedro Martinez waiting after him. Lynn Jones scampering out of the way.
Boy, that's a great story for Lynn Jones to be back coaching for Boston. Just a freak accident. Hurt himself earlier in the year. They did not know if he'd be back or not.
Almost lost all of his vision. It was an accident to his right eye. He was able to recover from that. He sees well out of his left for the most part. Down to get it is Pujols. Bellhorn is done in. 1 up, 1 down in the 6th for Boston.
Kiko Calero has been quite a find for Tony La Russa this year. He was signed as a free agent out of the Kansas City Royals organization. 29 years of age from Santurce, Puerto Rico. 41 appearances, a 3-1 record with a 2.78 ERA. That's getting it done.
Pedro is 0 for 2 tonight with a couple of strikeouts. And he is 1/3 of the way to number 3. I don't know if he has any intention of damaging that beautiful new bat of his.
Well, he was insulted by Manny Ramirez for not swinging the bat. At least he's going to go up. You know, I thought he looked better taken than he has swinging so far.
When he's standing still, he looks like a hitter.
Right there. Right at that point there, you're right. But then things change a little bit.
It's not why Pedro is one of the all-time greats, or will be by the time his career is done. It's not for what he does with a bat in his hand. It's for that golden right arm of his. And the count is 2-2. So he's working Calero here.
We don't know where he's going to end up next year, but having watched his first 2 at bats, don't you feel like he's going to stay in the American League?
Yeah, it's a pretty good bet. Of course, his career started with the Los Angeles Dodgers and then the Montreal Expos in the National League. Gets a piece, fouls it away, and he was never, ever mistaken for a quality hitter in those days. It's usually about this time in the course of a game with commentary like this that he knocks one to the warning track. 3-2, but he'd take a walk right now.
Well, and if I'm Terry Francona, I might put the take on.
One down. This is the 7th pitch of the at bat. He's taking, and it is low for ball 4, and he's on.
How about this? Does this not explain the way this series has gone for Tony La Russa?
Sure does.
During the year, Kiko Calero walked 10 guys all year long, and now he walks the opposing pitcher.
Pedro showing no interest in hitting at all, and he winds up at first base. It's been a long time since Pedro has stood there. And look at him stare down Pujols. You know, he's basically going to go as far as a shoelace. That's how big that lead will be. That's in there for a strike on Damon. Johnny tonight has lined out, grounded out, and doubled. He's also scored a run.
I was just thinking Pedro better get ready to run because Johnny Damon seems to be locked in.
Damon with 4 hits now in this series. And since Game 7 and that 2-homer explosion against the Yankees, and what is going to go down as one of the best clutch performances in Red Sox history by a hitter, it made all the difference. Since then, Damon's been a completely different hitter than he was in the first 6 games of the ALCS. He's been driving the ball.
Isn't it funny too how quick things can turn around? If they don't get to a Game 7, what are they saying about Johnny Damon in the Boston newspaper?
Oh, he'll be one of the great GOATs of all time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Same with Bellhorn. And remember what he did the last couple of games of the Yankee series.
Oh, and Pedro too.
Yeah. And then for Bellhorn on into the World Series. Ground ball easily speared by Womack to Renteria. The double play retires the side. That's it for Boston. They do not score in this frame. Pedro Martinez will trade in the helmet for the glove, and he'll head back on out to the hill. The 33-year-old right-hander in his first World Series start. The ghost may be disappearing for Boston. Coming home would be the elixir, but they are down 4-0 as we go to the last half of the 6th inning. Rick Sutcliffe, Dave O'Brien with you, and taking your inquiries, your questions, your hellos from all over the country. Mikhail Lotia from Karachi, Pakistan, writing in and talking about how much he enjoys the coverage and was lucky enough to be at Game 5 of the American League Championship Series. And you can write in right there on that address on the screen. Email Rick and I from any place on the face of the earth. We'll do our best to respond to you. Greg Hare in Frankfurt, Germany says, I'd like to thank you for mentioning us. We're staying up until 7 in the morning to watch the game. Bruce Nelson writing in from India. And Bruce says, go Sox, a huge Red Sox Nation fan. Well, we thank you so much for watching and staying up late or getting up early, however it works for you. Now here in St. Louis, it's about 9:30, and the St. Louis Cardinals are in trouble. Pedro Martinez is on a roll.
He's found his changeup. The curveball has kind of come and gone, but the changeup and fastball have been there, and he's starting to locate that pitch. Jason Varitek normally will sit right down the middle on a changeup, but look at where he gets on this one. I mean, he goes to the outside corner. That's how much confidence he has that Pedro can get it there.
1-2 shattered bat. Bellhorn up and over for the out. And another one down quickly, courtesy of Pedro Martinez, and a busted bat. That one came off of the handle. So no sign that they're going to get anything going against the slim Martinez.
Well, they haven't gotten anything going in a while. After they scored 9 runs in Game 1, the Cardinals now have only 2 runs and 8 hits in their last 14 1/3 innings.
9 straight for Martinez. Larry Walker is 0 for 1 with a walk in this one. Hitting .296 for the playoffs. Little looper and another broken bat. 2 down.
They're trying to stay back on that changeup, and that little cut fastball is just wearing them out. You know, he's not the same guy, that being Pedro Martinez, that he was in the past, but he still knows how to pitch. And he recognizes that. I think that's the big key, Dave, is the fact that, you know, he tried to strike people out and throw hard in September. He couldn't get it done. He was 2-4. The Yankees owned him. Tampa Bay beat him twice. He said, oh.
10 men have been retired consecutively by Martinez, who has a recent history of pitching quite well in interleague games.
I think he's in trouble here, though. Pujols, he's been paying attention. He'll lay off that changeup. He'll wait on a fastball to hit. Pedro's got to throw a change for a strike here to get back into this count.
He started, then stopped.
I think Varitek's trying to talk him out of it because it's 4-0. Why walk him? You walk him, you give up a homer to Rolen, then you're really in trouble. There you go. That's all to me, Varitek right there. Now wait a minute. We don't need to strike him out. If he gets a hit, so if he hits a homer, so be it. We still have a 3-run lead.
Nobody on base. Here's the 2-1. Another strike. All even on Pujols, barking at Brian Gorman now.
Remember, we talked about the home plate umpire and how he would have a big zone, Brian Gorman. It would be an advantage for Pedro. He's taking advantage of that now. That should have been ball 3.
Swing and a miss, a rare strikeout. Pujols disgusted, but Pedro is rocking and rolling. The right-hander, the Boston ace, certainly in seasons past, is knocking down Cardinals like bowling pins. He has retired 11 innings, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
Told you that I would read that in Game 7, but there's a chance I may not have to do that.
Commissioner Bud Selig would like to see a competitive series. Certainly we have seen that, but the Boston Red Sox are up 4-0 here in the 7th inning, with Orlando Cabrera, Manny Ramirez, and David Ortiz hitting and doing a lot of it. And the Red Sox are threatening to grab a 3-0 lead and take game number 1 in St. Louis. The first game of this series being played in St. Louis after the first 2 of the overall series in Boston.
I think every bit, Dave, as much as Pedro Martinez has taken the crowd out of it, the St. Louis Cardinals base running has these fans just completely in shock. They've not seen this all year long.
Fundamentals. The Cardinals seem to master them in 2004.
Right.
Timely hitting.
Pitcher gets a base hit to lead off the 3rd inning against Pedro Martinez. It was the pitcher on the base path. He should have scored on the double that was hit by Renteria. He didn't get that done. They held him up, and then the ground ball by Walker. That was an easy run. Jose Oquendo, all right, here we go. When he looked up, Suppan was headed back to the 3rd base bag. All kinds of problems.
2-2, he lunged at it, fouled it away. Cabrera does have a hit. He has a single. He's also taken ball 4. But, you know, between the timely hitting and the power, the base running and the superb defense, the Cardinals all season long appear to be the most balanced team in the game. Good bullpen. Reliable, if not spectacular, starting pitching.
Yeah.
They put the full package together. They won 105 games. They ran away with the division in the National League Central, when a lot of people predicted they'd finish 3rd or maybe even worse. And this, what they're doing so far in the series, is completely unexpected across the board.
Well, they're not near as bad as the way things seem right now. Woody Williams just kept trying to throw that curveball for a strike in Game 1. The conditions didn't allow it. It was just too cold. Matt Morris out there on short rest. He just ran out of gas. I mean, he gave them everything he possibly could. Offensively, they just couldn't get on track.
Line shot left center. No one will catch this one. Edmonds has to give chase. It'll be an extra base hit, a double for Orlando Cabrera. And Boston is at it again. Not content with their 4 runs. A 7th inning leadoff double by Cabrera.
And look who's coming up again. You talk about the 4 runs. The guy that gave them the first run in the very first inning. We talked about the numbers. The Boston Red Sox, when they score first in this postseason, they're 8-0. When the opponents score first, they are just 1-3.
Well, largely because of the efforts of Manny Ramirez, the Red Sox may be thinking sweep by the end of the night. We got a note from Dr. Salvador Martinez from Thailand, who said in this October 2004, I bet the Boston Red Sox will take it in 4. Red Sox Nation extending to every corner of the globe, and rhyming too. Manny with 2 RBIs, 2 more than he had in the entire ALCS against the Yankees. And Boston won anyway. 1-1 the count. Ortiz up next. Believe it or not, Busch Stadium is packed. Doesn't sound like it, though. That hits the outside corner, although Manny begs to differ, and it's 1-2.
I don't think it's been this quiet since I played here. We had a bad team in 1994, so bad that the following year we got Joe Torre fired as manager of the Cardinals.
He's okay, though. He's bounced back pretty well. I wouldn't worry too much about Joe. He's done just fine. Cabrera leading off second. Would not chase it. A little teaser there. 2-2.
Yeah, Joe Torre, when he put on those pinstripes, they started making a key for him to the Hall of Fame. How about what Terry Francona has accomplished? Going up in the last 2 series against 2 Hall of Fame managers, no question. Torre's going in, no question. La Russa will go in. And right now, Terry Francona with the upper hand.
Another check swing by Ramirez on a ball, and it's 3-2. Ortiz waiting his turn. Boston ahead 4-0 in the 7th. They look to take a 3-0 lead in the World Series. Is it pretty obvious by now that the Red Sox weren't just happy to beat the Yankees and get here?
They want more.
Ball 4. Manny on for the 3rd time. He's done plenty tonight.
Well, they have not trailed now in the last 48 innings, and Manny Ramirez made sure of that right off the bat. Here he is in the 1st inning, 2 outs, nobody on, 1-0 Boston. 1 swing of the bat. Now all of a sudden he wants to protect that lead. He goes, you know, I can make this throw. It's not that far. Larry Walker ran into an out. And here, take a look at this. He drives in the run, 1st and 2nd in his 3rd at bat. An opportunity for David Ortiz to get something done, as there is now.
Ray King is going to be brought in, the left-hander, to face David Ortiz. So another pitching change will be made here. Runners at 1st and 2nd for Boston, and they lead it 4-0 in the 7th inning. First and 2nd, and the Red Sox already up 4-0. This is the man brought in to get him, Ray King. So it's a lefty-lefty duel, and a huge out for the St. Louis Cardinals, because Boston is threatening again. First pitch is outside, ball 1.
Gotta feel like this is the last at bat for David Ortiz tonight. If Terry Francona sticks to the game plan that he has used in the past, he will put his defensive team out there to take the field in the bottom of this inning. Minkiewicz will probably go to 1st. I doubt if we see Millar.
Ortiz said about playing first base for the first time in such a long time. He said, if I have to play it, wish me luck. I'm not real comfortable out there, but I have no choice. Kind of sounded like he was being sentenced. But tonight he does have a hit, and he's made a couple of nice defensive plays.
He has, and the reason for that .412 postseason average is because, unlike during the regular season, he has solved the puzzle with left-handed pitcher. He hit .250 against left-handed during the regular season. He's hitting .500 in those situations in the postseason. And not only .500, but with power. He's got a home run and 4 RBIs in just 6 at-bats.
This is a much bigger ballpark than Fenway, at least in terms of down the lines.
One of the hits was against King, and we know the homer was off of Jared Washburn, ending the division series against Anaheim.
He took a cut, came up empty. 2-1.
There you go. And it's not a soft 500.
Cabrera led off the inning with a double. Manny Ramirez was walked. Varitek is on deck, but right now it's King against Ortiz. And that's on the corner, 2-2. A big out here for the St. Louis bullpen. Low for ball 3, the appeal. No swing, Charlie Relaford says. If he lets go of him, if King walks him, Varitek hits with the bases loaded and nobody out. Gently hit on the charge. Pujols. He'll take it himself. Gets the out. The runners move up. Cabrera to third. And Manning into second. And Ortiz banging himself on the hard hat. Not pleased with that very weak cut. He doesn't make many soft outs.
I think that Ray King made a really good pitch here. That's a good breaking ball. You see the location. You see where the glove started on Matheny, and you see where it stayed. I mean, he put that hard slider right in the spot where he wanted to, creating this ground ball. But as we have seen throughout the postseason, a productive out. Runners moving up, each of them 90 feet.
They're going to put Varitek on. He'll be walked intentionally. Here comes La Russa now. Now initially Matheny stood up and stuck out his right hand and put out 4 fingers. Did La Russa just want to make sure? You want to make sure that his catcher and his pitcher got the sign right.
Well, they have not faced each other, that being Varitek and Ray King. Ray King may be thinking, you know what, bring the infield in. I can keep Jason Varitek on the infield.
Yep, they have changed their minds. They're going to pitch to him, at least at the start, with the infield drawn in. And the first pitch is outside, low ball 1.
You can do this with a veteran guy. I mean, King might be one of the guys that's just uncomfortable intentionally walking somebody. He can try to expand the zone here because there's a comfort zone with Matheny back there. You don't worry about pass balls or wild pitches. Try to paint the outside corner there. If you miss with it, if nonetheless, instead of lobbing 4 intentional passes in, you still got that release point. You still, you know, you're letting the ball go. He's putting it right where he wants right now.
So this basically is an intentional walk for all intents and purposes. It's just not an automatic. And he walks him on 4 straight. So the bases are jammed now for Boston. And the hitter is going to be Bill Miller, who grew up right here in St. Louis and has a lot of friends and family in the ballpark watching. They grew up Cardinal fans. His family, of course, Bill Miller fans first and foremost, but a lot of his neighbors could be real unhappy in just a couple of moments if he comes up with a big hit.
Statistically, no question the right move to make here. Flip-flop Miller around to the right side. He was a much better hitter from the left side.
Fly ball down the right field line, sailing toward the stands and out of play for a foul strike. 0-1.
Varitek from the right side. He might have led the American League in hitting with that .350 average. 273 from the left side. You're not going to let him hurt you there. And here's an opportunity to get that ground ball double play. What I don't like, though, is once again, like we saw with the infield in and the ball hit to Womack, they're at that halfway point. Either come all the way in or go all the way back.
Rattled to third. Roland steps on third across the diamond. Dug out nicely by Pujols. And the Red Sox fail to score. They hit into a double play to end the inning. Nice job on both corners. Time for God Bless America here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We're going to toss it to the public address announcer, John Hewlett. And we'll be back for the bottom of the 7th inning.
Please welcome 5-time Grammy Award winner and A&M Universal Recording artist, Amy Grant.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America.
Cardinals box score so far tonight.
Not a whole lot to look at. You're going to see a lot of strikeouts. Rolen just 0 for 1. He's been on base a couple of times. Pujols, Larry Walker, that's a tough 0 for 2 that he has had. He walked in his first at bat. Bases loaded, had an opportunity to score. That didn't happen. Then he hit the ground ball to second with men on second and third. Should have had an RBI, but did not.
Nobody warming up in the Red Sox bullpen. Pedro Martinez to face Scott Rolen here. And the first pitch is outside, ball 1 on him. He has walked him and grounded out. So Rolen is 0 for 1. He is 0 for the World Series so far, without a hit in 9 official at bats. The appeal to the first base umpire, Chuck Merriweather, no swing. 2-0. The great fear on Pedro, of course, is when he gets to that 100 pitch mark, he tends to lose it. We saw it in the Yankee series. Inside out swing, he's going to get the roller to Minkiewicz for an easy out. And Rolen is anything but Rolen in the 2004 series.
Scott Rolen just got himself out. What are you doing taking a check swing on a 2-0 pitch? You either hit it out of the ballpark or you don't swing at it. That is a sign of a man struggling.
Just 87 pitches for Pedro. 23 in the first inning.
It's been so easy for him. He has gone 1, 2, 3 in the last 3 consecutive innings.
And only 1 ball has been hit out of the infield off him since the 3rd inning. That's how good Martinez has been. He's gotten Edmonds twice on a double play and a fly out to center.
Even with a comfortable lead, Jason Varitek working hard behind home plate. Set up inside, called a change up, moved to the outside. Now he's back on the outer half of the corner. Pedro missing with that off-speed pitch. Now you sit right down the middle. Pedro will throw either a little cutter, middle in, or he'll take a little bit off the change up. You know you have to throw a strike.
Got it by him, 2-2. Martinez mixing his pitches and mixing speeds very effectively.
They have got to get him in the stretch if they expect to beat him.
Left that one down into the dirt. Now 3-2. Not only have the Cardinals not had a hit since the 3rd inning, they haven't had a base runner since then. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
Got himself out. That's clearly ball 4. Scott Rolen check swinging at a 2-0 pitch. There's the glove. Look at where it goes. Well up out of the zone. Should have been a man on first. This is a frustrated team, and this is a situation here where Tony La Russa and his staff, it's a collective effort, have got to get these guys back focused and back confident that they can come back.
13 in a row retired by Martinez. And he's drilling in strikes now. He gets in front of Reggie Sanders. Cardinal fans starting to smell their fate. 0-2.
This is kind of the only reason I'm a little bit in favor of interleague play. I know there's some rivalries that are great, but not all. But even though these Cardinal fans aren't enjoying this, they will remember the opportunity they had to get to see the great Pedro Martinez on the mound. They saw him as a kid when he was with the Dodgers and then briefly when he was with Montreal. He wasn't the same guy then that he has been since he put on that Red Sox uniform.
High fly but foul out of play. Red Sox leading 4-0. They've out hit St. Louis 9-3. No Boston errors tonight. You're not surprised when you see a 0 under the error column for the Cardinals. But the way the Red Sox have played in the series, this is a welcome change here in Game 3. Boston made 4 errors in Game 1, 4 errors in Game 2. Won both of those games. Somehow the 0-2 pitch up top.
Had to be a welcome change for Pedro, even though he gave up a couple of runs in Game 7 in the 7th inning. But to go out there and leave an inning with Boston ahead against the Yankees. He pitched well in Games 2 and Game 5, but both times he was in line to be the losing pitcher.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. He gets Rolen, Edmonds, and Sanders. And they are 1 for 30 collectively in the series with a bunt single. 14 straight retired by Pedro Martinez. Tonight he is Pedro the Great. Some vintage stuff from the right-hander. We may have just seen the last of Pedro Martinez in a Boston Red Sox uniform. If that is the case, he goes out with a blaze of glory. And 14 straight Cardinals retired in the World Series.
Save your best for last? How about if you save one of your best for Game 3? What a performance. Pedro Martinez, when they needed him to step up, he did that. He took a big step in that direction. Dave Wallace with a hug. Dale Swaim. And then look at the love here. Look at the pat from Pedro for his skipper, Terry Francona. You never know what Manny and Pedro. Here we go. There we go. I don't know what there. Yeah, thank you.
More Pedro. Ellis Burks there. And a line on him. If he is done, 7, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs. Plus, he hit tonight. Well, sort of. He was 0 for 2, couple of strikeouts.
He walked.
And a walk as a batter. Pedro Martinez, will he or will he not be back with the Red Sox? That's an open question. This series is not over. This game is not over.
It's not over, but a World Series ring a lot of times changes a man's mind.
True enough. So maybe. I mean, why wouldn't you want, as Timlin works in the bullpen now, he'll be in next for Boston. Why wouldn't you want to come back with the team you won the series with, even if it's only 1 more year, so you can strut through that next season wearing the ring?
Oh, yeah.
And being called the best on the planet.
And you know when they're going to get the ring. If they get it. Hey, you and I just did a series where the Yankees were up 3 games to nothing. We know that it can happen. But they open the series next year at Fenway against the Yankees.
Yep.
That's where you want to get your ring.
Ground ball by Gabe Kapler, picked off by Rolen. He hurries it over for the out. 1 away in the 8th inning. That's right, it's the 8th inning, so the night is growing late for the St. Louis Cardinals. With their explosive offense, they're not out of Game 3 yet. They are not done. But they've been held to 3 hits by Pedro Martinez. The good news for the Cardinals is Pedro's out of the game, it would appear.
But the great news during the postseason for the Boston Red Sox has been they finally got a closer. They've got a dominant closer this year in Keith Folk.
Well, Kevin Millar will be hitting next after Bellhorn. He'll be batting for Pedro Martinez. So now it is official.
And no news was good news thus far defensively, and you're not going to see a miscue because David Ortiz is out of the ballgame.
Pop to right field. Larry Walker saunters in underneath it, and there are 2 gone. The Red Sox box score now. And you'll see a home run by Manny Ramirez that got them going in the 1st inning and made it 1-0 Boston.
You're going to see 2 RBIs. You're going to see a run scored by Johnny Damon and Cabrera. When you set up your lineup, you expect the guys at the top of the order to score a run. Also a run scored by the local St. Louis kid, Bill Miller.
2 hits for Cabrera, 2 hits for Bill Miller. And Boston with 9 hits on the board this evening. Millar batting for the first time here in Game 3 now. On deck, Johnny Damon, if it's still alive here in the 8th.
Not a whole lot there in that box score from Jason Varitek. But how about the fact that he's catching a shutout right now? He would take that over a couple of home runs every night.
You know, some people may find that comment insincere unless you know Varitek. He considers what he does in the batter's box just something extra. It's gravy. What he does as a member, and you put it beautifully, he's a member of the rotation. That's how he feels when he catches these guys.
And that's how they feel.
And he's a catcher, but they consider him another pitcher.
You know, and I was asking him today, he said, we want to win it for the big guy, talking about Pedro. And I said, what is it about Pedro? I mean, here's a guy that comes to the ballpark when he wants. He leaves when he wants. Not on any other team does that happen. And yet you guys love this guy. What is it? He said, you know what? Everybody's different. He said, there's something special about him, and we know he cares about us.
There's a whole lot of love in the room, meaning the Red Sox room, for Pedro Martinez tonight. But he's about to turn it over to the bullpen. We go to the last half of inning 8. In Cardinals, it'll be Derek Lowe against Jason Marquis, Wednesday, 8 o'clock, midnight GMT, right here on Major League Baseball International. Boston tries to reverse the curse, but St. Louis, although Busch Stadium has been a pretty quiet place tonight, is still alive in Game 3. Just trying to break through on the scoreboard, Sut, and they turn it over to Mike Timlin after Pedro Martinez goes 7 brilliant innings.
He was outstanding tonight, but you're looking at a guy on the mound now, and Mike Timlin, that has been outstanding throughout his postseason career. He was terrific a year ago, but Grady Little decided to leave Pedro Martinez in late in the ball game instead of going to Timlin. Little different story, though, for Terry Francona this year. When you've got Keith Folk down there, you're not afraid to make changes.
14 straight Cardinals have been set down. Tony Womack is 0 for 2 tonight. He is grounded to second and struck out. Roger Cedeno has come to the on-deck circle. He'll hit for Matheny. So Tony La Russa is going to try and get something going here late in this contest with his bench. Grounded hard, but Miller was in, stops it, throws him out. 15 in a row.
Just hearing you say the word bench, think about how important and how strong the bench for the Boston Red Sox has been this year. The games that they were able to win, the stolen base by Dave Roberts, the defense by Mankiewicz and Pokey Reese, who's out there now.
It's funny to me, the Red Sox, as far as their everyday lineup, they play very much an American League style. Not that they necessarily sit around and wait for the 3-run homer. They just get them in bunches. But they have a National League style bench. And one that Francona has really manipulated well in this postseason.
Theo Epstein was saying last night at dinner that he knew he was going to need that when he saw a series in May where the Anaheim Angels just put so much pressure on Boston defensively by running the bases and challenging their arms. He knew they had no chance to get to the postseason, and even if they got there, to go beyond that. He made some changes. They traded Nomar. They knew Nomar wasn't going to be healthy. They were able to get Cabrera. They got Mankiewicz. And then Dave Roberts. Nobody said anything about that. But without him and without the stolen base against Mariano Rivera, the Boston Red Sox would still be talking about the curse of the Bambino.
Instead, the Yankees are in their rearview mirror. 1-2. Little two-hopper. Cabrera backhand throws him out. 2 down. No hint of a comeback tonight. Not yet anyway for St. Louis. John Mabry will try and get some going now as he'll be announced.
Watching Cabrera the last 3 or 4 years, Dave, the one thing remarkable to me about him is how many times, not a routine player or whatever, he hits the first baseman chest high. You don't need Doug Mankiewicz over there. David Ortiz would be fine. This kid's throws are always right on the money. That nice little tail, right back, the soft throw, easy to handle. What a player.
Mabry takes an inside pitch for ball 1. The base is clean, 2 down. 50,015 watching tonight. And early on, they were on their feet. They were boisterous. They were enthusiastic. They were passionate. Trying to will their Cardinals back into the series. But the mood is pretty sour now. Down 4-0. Down 2-0 in the series. And facing the prospect of being swept in their own ballpark tomorrow in game number 4.
I thought all along that this guy was going to be the DH in game 1, didn't you? John Mabry?
Yeah.
power guy, left-handed hitter, perfect for Fenway.
Stopped by Minkiewicz, and another 1-2-3 inning. That has been the case tonight every inning since the 4th inning. A-OK, say the Boston fans on hand at Busch Stadium. We're heading to the 9th inning. It is 4-0 Red Sox in Game 3. It's a pleasure to have you along wherever you're watching from around the world tonight. It's been kind of a gray, overcast, oftentimes rainy day and evening in St. Louis. But it's also been dry since the ball game got underway, since just before that. And the Boston Red Sox got started early on a home run by Manny Ramirez off of Jeff Suppan, who lasted only 4 2/3 innings. Since then, a parade of relief pitchers for the Cardinals. Reyes and Calero and King, and now Tavares takes over in the 9th. And it's the top of the order for the Red Sox, up 4-0. Johnny Damon tonight is 1 for 4. He has doubled and scored. He lays off ball 1.
I got a chance to look at the hand of Tavares before the game tonight. I mean, he's in every bit as much pain as Curt Schilling is. There are several bones in that left hand that are broken. Every time he moves it, when he presses it to his chest, he catches a ball here. He's got to catch it with 2 hands there. I mean, just a remarkable show of toughness and how much it means to him and how much he has meant to the team this year for him to be out there.
All bandaged up before the game. We saw him walking around the clubhouse earlier tonight. And it looked like someone had forced him to hold a bowling ball and then wrapped it in a number of ace bandages.
He's an igniter. And teams that oppose him don't like him for a lot of different things, but one of them is he will knock you down. I mean, Jeff Bagwell knows well. I mean, he's a guy that'll come in. What Tony La Russa loves about him.
A fly out to center. Johnny Damon is 1 for 5 tonight. 1 away in the Red Sox 9th inning.
And here's the spot right now where Tavares could knock down Cabrera. He might knock down Manny. Just trying to see if he can force the hand of Boston to retaliate and maybe get his team going offensively. He gets the out. Now look at that. That brace in there has slipped off to the side. He moves it back over to where at least he can catch the ball when it's handed to him by Scott Rowland.
Good night for Orlando Cabrera. The Boston shortstop has lined out, walked, singled, and doubled, so he's been on base 3 times. And he has made every play he's had to make, as he's done basically throughout the postseason. And the longer you look at Cabrera as the Red Sox shortstop, the more the memory of Nomar Garciaparra fades as far as that position and that uniform. This young guy is carving out a spot for himself. He takes that pitch on the inside corner. It's 1-2.
So much credit should go to Theo Epstein for pulling the trigger on making that move. Nomar Garciaparra, I mean, everybody in Boston loved him, but he was not healthy, nor was he going to be healthy or able to play defense all year long. He'll be back next year.
See? Oh, up over his head. Yep, there it is.
I told you. I told you. I've seen him do it for years now. You play against him, it makes you mad. A lot of times it will make a team throw at one of the Cardinal hitters. Well, that's what Tavares is trying to do right now. He's trying to get somebody on base. It's been a long time since the St. Louis Cardinal has gotten to first base and been able to stay.
And maybe a hit batsman is the only way to get a Cardinal on.
You know, you say it's not right, and it should not exist at any level other than this one. There is a lot at stake right now. The biggest prize that baseball has to offer is a World Series ring. And Tavares is one of those guys that is willing to fight to win a ball game. And whether you like it or not, it at times will win baseball games for you. He may not be done. Manny knows, too, that he may have to take a seat here in a minute.
Ramirez on deck, 1 out. Boston ahead 4-0 in the 9th. The center field backing up Edmonds. He'll reach up to make the catch. 2 down. By the way, we were talking about Nomar Garciaparra a moment ago. The Red Sox in a very classy gesture, because when he left, it was a very controversial exit. The Red Sox have voted Garciaparra a full playoff share. So they go on to win a World Series, and they get a big check as a result of that. Very healthy check.
I did not know that. That is really, really a great move. Most of the time, the shares are given for the amount of playing time. If you were there half a year, you get half a share.
So the Red Sox showing their respect for a guy who really was a great star for them. And his future plans are up in the air. Does Nomar return to the Chicago Cubs? Does he go elsewhere? Does he test that free agent market and open it up to all the bidders?
And don't you think, too, that was part of the reason, Dave, for the move? I mean, the distraction with all of the things that were written about. Is he going to stay or is he going to go?
Inside on Manny. He didn't have to sit, but he had to jump out of the way, and it's 1-1.
He took that first pitch right down the middle because he didn't know if that was the one he was going to get drilled with or whether it was going to be the next one. Tavares is some kind of tough, and he's a competitor, like it or not.
Strike, and you knew that was coming as well. He had him set up for it.
Couldn't have hit it with a boat oar. I'm telling you, they don't make bats long enough for him to have reached that pitch, and it was on the corner.
But Manny's done damage tonight with a homer and an RBI single. He set the tone for Boston with that first inning shot to left field. Lays off, and it's down low 2-2.
Absolutely locked him up. Manny did not even, he just wanted to get out of the way. Watch him move on this pitch. Look at that. He gave up. You throw it for a strike, you got me. I just don't want to get hit here.
Rain starting to fall here at Busch Stadium very lightly. So he haven't escaped that entirely. 2-2, swung on and missed. He struck him out. 1-2-3 go the Red Sox. But they have 4. And they have Folk. He is about to walk through the raindrops, and he's done that all through the postseason. He's been perfect. He's been untouchable. He'll face the top 3 for the St. Louis Cardinals: Renteria, Walker, and Pujols. Four to nothing with one more crack at it. And you know what? Tony La Russa lately, when he's been to the World Series, has looked like that a lot. Because if he loses tonight, that's going to continue his string of defeats. He hasn't won a World Series game since 1989 against the Giants, then as the manager of the Oakland Athletics.
Well, the only game he has won this year on the road in the postseason was the clincher against L.A. Tony La Russa's team was a perfect 6-0, though, here at home at Busch Stadium. That could change here shortly.
Keith Folk heading to the hill. He gets Renteria, Walker, Pujols, 1-2-3. Pedro Martinez, the story tonight. Sensational in 7 innings. He allowed just 3 hits, struck out 6. But sensational certainly describes this guy's postseason totals.
And I got to go back to the 8th inning too, Dave, and just how you never notice Mike Timlin. You never notice Alan Embry. But Timlin comes out there in the 8th inning, 1, 2, 3, 2 pinch hitters, no hits, nobody on, no runs, setting up the closer. That's a horse right there. That is a guy you want on your team.
Renteria is 1 for 3 with a double. The double came in the 3rd inning, one of just 3 St. Louis hits. High fly right field to the corner. Leaping up, no play for Kapler. It's off into the crowd. But since Renteria's double way back in the 3rd inning, the Cardinals have only hit 1 ball out of the infield. They don't have a single hit since the 3rd. That's a complete shutdown of a great offense.
And you got a defense out there now that can shut people down. You talked about that National League look. There's Minkiewicz and his gold gloves. More gold at second. Kapler, great range. Folk, a great changeup. Damon's right there in the middle. He runs well. He doesn't get great jumps. Doesn't always take great route. Doesn't throw great, but he gets it done. Bill Miller, with the exception of game 2, I think above average defensively. And Varitek brings it all together.
Popped up again on a play by Renteria. In the last 2 games of this series, St. Louis has been held by the Red Sox pitching staff to 2 runs and 8 hits. That's not over 1 ball game. That's over almost 2 entire World Series games. A little bit low, and a full count on the leadoff man for St. Louis, Edgar Renteria. No base runners for St. Louis since the 3rd. Swing and a miss, and an ugly cut by Renteria as he strikes out.
That's the ugliest swing I've ever seen Edgar Renteria take. This is a lot like the swings we saw Pedro Martinez taking. He was taking all the way, and then he realized it was right down the middle. We talked about the cloud that has been over the Boston Red Sox for the last 86 years. That cloud just moved to St. Louis.
'18 straight retired by Boston. Popped up by Walker. That'll twist off toward the crowd. No play for Bill Miller.
Right when you think you get, the next 3 guys on, Jim Edmonds would come to home plate as a tie and run. Edmonds doesn't want any part of Folk. He hadn't put the ball in play yet in his career against the Red Sox closer. Definitely the right move by Terry Francona. Most of the time, you'll wait for a safe situation with your closer. Hey, let's win the ball game. We'll worry about saves next year.
Fouled off again, and Walker is in a big hole, 0-2, as are the St. Louis Cardinals. Although they are 2 outs away from being in an even larger 0-3 hole. Fly ball center field deep. Damon back turning. This one's sailing, and it is gone. A home run for Larry Walker. A solo shot to center field. He's one of the few big guns who has done anything in the series for St. Louis. So that brings a late smile. Does it light a fire? We'll find out.
Well, it finally lights up something other than a 0 on the scoreboard for the St. Louis Cardinals. An 0-2 pitch, no question, a mistake on the part of Keith Folk. This is what's called being wild in the strike zone when you make a pitch like that on a count like that that's hit that far. Fastball out over the plate. Gone. He does things on a baseball field not many can do.
1 down, it is 4-1. There's a high fly ball to left center. Backing up Manny Ramirez, and he is there to make the catch. Shy of the warning track. The crowd thought back-to-back, and we're back in the game. It was not to be. 2 down.
You're going to have to earn it off Keith Folk. Dave, he's proven that to us the last couple of years. Statistically, the best closer in the American League a year ago with Oakland. Won the Rolaids Relief Award. And when you think about how they got to this game, the 2 pieces to the puzzle Theo Epstein added in the offseason. A closer, Keith Folk, won game 1. A starter, Kurt Schilling, got the victory in game 2.
Scott Rowland is 0 for 2. No hits in the World Series. Rowland, Edmonds, Sanders are 1 for 30. 1 ball, 1 strike. We're talking about Scott Rowland, Jim Edmonds, and Reggie Sanders the same way we were talking about Johnny Damon and Mark Bellhorn through the first 5 games of the American League Championship against the Yankees. High fly ball to left, deep into the corner, but that's going to go foul. And out of play. Deep enough, but not straight enough, and it's 1-2.
Now they're 1 strike away from taking a commanding 3-0 lead. And the #1 reason has been the lack of starting pitching for Tony La Russa's team. Collectively, the 3 starters in the first 3 games, 11 1/3 innings pitched, 15 earned runs allowed. This is a 3-game total. Only 8 strikeouts, and 2 of those were by Pedro Martinez tonight.
The 1-2 pitch. In there for strike 3 looking, and the ball game is over. The Red Sox take game 3, and they are 1 victory away from ending 86 years of pain. Boston wins it 4-1. Rolling frozen in the box, and Pedro Martinez and Manny Ramirez, the true great Red Sox stars, come through with blinding colors tonight. Manny with 2 RBIs and a homer, and Pedro was just scintillating on the hill in what might just be his final Red Sox start. But if it is, he went out with a bang.
Pedro now will run his career postseason record against teams other than from the Bronx to a perfect 5-0 with an ERA right around 2.5.
Martinez the winner, Suppan the loser, and the Red Sox lead 3-0. The Boston Red Sox with 1 more win to get, but here's how the 3rd win in the series concluded.
More frustration on the part of Cardinal hitters. A belated happy birthday present to Pedro Martinez, 33 years of age yesterday. He did not pitch like the 23 or 28-year-old Pedro, but nonetheless 7 scoreless innings, an opportunity for the Boston Red Sox to win a World Series tomorrow night with that man Derek Lowe on the hill.
Well, he's already faced a clutch situation. He's come through, and that was the American League Championship. Now he's looking to lock down the World Series for the Boston Red Sox. A look now at our Pepsi plays of the game, which led to the Red Sox victory.
And if you weren't there to watch this, you're not going to believe one of our plays of the game is a defensive play by Manny Ramirez. Walker at third, fly ball, left field, a perfect throw to Veritek, the tag, and a double play with the bases loaded. Then Jeff Suppan got confused, didn't know where to go. Ground ball to first. Ortiz with a throw to third base. He nailed him. Another double play defensively by Manny Ramirez's arm and David Ortiz's.
And the Cardinals continue to run themselves out of key situations. Our memorable moment is brought to you by MasterCard. Postseason memories indeed of Pedro Martinez.
Well, he won his start against the Anaheim Angels in Game 2 of the Division Series. He struggled against the Yankees, but he begged to get into Game 7 against the New York Yankees coming out of the bullpen. He knew that the pen had picked him up. He wanted to help them. I think he got a lot of confidence just from walking off that mound with the lead at Yankee Stadium. He did it again tonight.
He left after 7, allowing only 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, and in front of 52,015 under the arch in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals go home losers tonight. The Red Sox with a big Game 3 win. 4-1.